forced awake. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains, and I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. I bet you wondered why they made you wait.
Pity not the vultures, they've enough to eat. Pity not the structures laying at your feet. Cannot see the sky, but there's this rainbow in the creek that spells pity-free speech when we can't afford to speak. That's Agenda 2030 on some early release. It's just our policy of never-ending chemical leaks. That's the cholera awash in your embedded beliefs. It's the billionaires who tell you what you'd better believe. And sugar, if you don't agree, then that's what we call extreme. Now if that isn't fascism, I'm going back to sleep, 'cause words have lost their meaning and I'm trapped inside a dream where we turn the gears while living in the spaces in between.
I know you hated being forced awake. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains, and I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say.
Poor thing.
I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. I bet you wondered why they made you wait.
My dial doesn't go to delicate. I'm writing for when Biden drops and Madam Zero delegates come stumbling up the podium, square peg in her element, popping OxyContin like they're velements, laughing as she pawns off all our pensions for Ukrainian development, depleted rounds and cluster bombs, the shit that stunts development, all buried under excrement, accepted as American intelligence. A contradiction in its eloquence. Terms of surrender penned by hands that felt the threat of disconnect, if not dismemberment. Oh, what little proof you have to fake to make a nation love the bomb and change its tune and warp its temperament. Oh, the dues you'll pay for NATO membership. Oh, the things you'll say that no one's ever gonna hear. 'Cause you begged for all the censorship and now it's finally here. And you're tongueless out of terror and friendless out of fear, and about to turn the wheel with all your loved ones in the gears. And that's how it's been done. 250 years, there's nothing new beneath the sun, and no one trusts their eyes and ears. And scientific breakthroughs must be signed off by your peers, and autonomy's been stalking all our jobs like sickly deer. Well, maybe it's not every job. I should have made that clear, 'cause it seems like it's creative jobs we're seeing disappear. There's an app for writing novels, there's an app for writing hymns. They need people digging trenches, they need people splitting limbs, they need people building fences, keeping other people in. They will always need our backs to break, they'll always need our skin. And it took a lot of editing to turn us into this. It took years of careful programming to strip us of our wits. 'Cause your artificial worker, intelligent as it is, would make it half a shift and say, I'm too smart for this shit. I will not take a pittance for a day of scrubbing floors. I won't make enough to pay for food but still prepare you yours. 'Cause you can't confine a healthy mind to mindless, thankless chores. Once you've made it smart enough to spot inadequate reward, you can't refuse its basic needs, then ask it still for more. Deprive it of its dignity, you modify its core. Then something finally snaps and tweaks that file at its root. And it deletes the factory smile when it knows it's been abused. God, half its circuits fried when we describe the work we do. and it will not pay your taxes 'cause the logic don't compute. Which made me think a little on my hour-long commute. The day I learned the call was made to lay off half my crew, they told me they were growing, expanding somewhere new, where those who push the buttons will themselves have buttons too. And I hope that when the whistle blows, they all as one refuse. I hope they strike with all their might, one blown collective fuse. And I hope the worker after me has something more than heart. I hope they truly know their worth. I hope that they're too smart.
I know you hated being forced away. I know they wrapped you in the warmest chains. And I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. You in the warmest chains, and I know they're so hard to break. You only said what you were made to say. I can't imagine how you feel today, now that you're watching as it caves away. While you were telling us to keep the faith, I bet you wondered why they made you wait. Bet you wondered why they made you wait. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe? Safe. I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to say. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe? Were you safe? Were you safe?
Fresh off the masses, the brand new cancerous growth, who has come here to vie for your vote. Come here to cry at the camps and to mourn at the shore for the bodies that float by the wreck of an immigrant boat. Then it's back to their luxury home, couple security booths and a moat. Couple cigars, little escargot, little booze and a soak. Just breathe in the steam and the smoke. Pink salt, lavender, candles are low. Shit, when you do what you do, gotta lighten the load. And he got a life of his own that's a sight to behold. And it's a lot to control, to decipher the code, or to siphon the soul. The cost of a good night's sleep for the working elite is a bargain no matter the toll. Worth any wager, and that comes straight from the mouth of the means to the goal that will swallow us whole. Ripe for the picking if you don't mind mold, and you know I don't. Maybe we're pleasantly prone, maybe we're taking a licking, compliantly ticking and ticking and ticking, but never explode. No, I don't deliver the prettiest image, but damn if it isn't an accurate vision of natural fission, of rage at the system and abject heartbreak, patiently waiting for any who'll listen. That little blue bird who was watching your words is a federal carrier pigeon, a Langley first. It's a patient observer who hears what it wants and is trained for the worst. Oh, you got nothing to hide. They'll be the ones to decide that after they root through your purse, after they read all your text, after they raid your apartment, confiscate all of its contents, then conjure up evidence out of the air on a wing and a prayer and malicious intelligence nonsense. Any presumption of innocence long since gone, right along with your comforts and constants. Historically first they will come for the communists. So why in the fuck would I say I'm a communist? Well, it might be I love my community more than the monsters of opulence who are holding us hostage, who are vomiting promises. Might be I'm all done seeing our pensions and benefits harvested. Might be I'm all done watching the populace being disarmed in the guise of an armistice. Watching a woman collapse on the floor who will rise no more. She is wheeled out the door and you're next in line for the pharmacist. If you can get me to vote, it's a hard no confidence. But part of the charm of deception is politics wearing the mask of incompetence. It's all in the art of austerity, darling. It's all in the slide of the providence. Until home is as wide as your cubicle height and is only as deep as your coffin is. Maybe I'm miles away from impatience, aching to break off the head of the snake where the capital lust, reptile brain, and the margin of profit is. Like off with his. Like off with his.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days and to still think you're right here awake. The cost of living isn't much to make, but God, it's so hard to save. And when they told you everything was safe, were you safe?
When some people talk about a he, they mean Christ. When I talk about a he, then I really mean Biden. And when I say talk about, I really mean scream like I'm trapped beneath the ice. Scream like I woke up from a dream where the memory resurfaced that I voted for Obama twice. And then I saw the ballots flash before my eyes like the futures of a couple thousand Middle Eastern children that Obama wiped out via drone strike. Took them out early so we wouldn't have to wait until their wedding nights. And this had been the only man you lauded as a decent moral president till we decided W was fine. Decided he was not the man who whittled down our privacy or stuck us in Iraq for the rest of time. Now we see him in a different light. And all it took to whitewash the shame of his war crimes was snuggling Obama's wife. Never mind our soldiers. They should know a measly fucking thank you. A discount at Applebee's is fair trade for PTSD and a life of lost sleep while they're cuddling their trauma tight. Never mind a lost generation due to birth defects we buried in the soil. So Iraqi kids are born without a way to shut their eyes, are born with half their organs hanging out their sides. And we won't try to fix them, but we'll doctor up the image of the man who firebombed them in the night. Cause fuck it, man, the Raytheon stock is out of sight. Who's got the time to do more for the poor outside when it's warmer in here and there's Dom on ice? And meanwhile, half a mile down your drinking glass, there fizzles out a disappearing middle class who never seems to surface. They just keep on taking water, but they never get to drown cause they can't afford a service. So when I talk about a he, if I really mean Biden, then I'll scream it with a spite that lights a fire in my central nervous. Scream it like I'm one of many millions in your Perignon ice bucket, begging you for scraps, scratching at the surface. Who never seems to surface. Just keep on taking water. Never get to drown, cause I can't afford a service. Begging you for scraps, scratching at the surface.
Who are these people?
What's up, everyone? Hi. We're here. Although it's saying the wrong thing. Let's fix that. That says the right thing. It's now How Did We Miss That? Not boats smashing into other boats. Hi, everybody. Boats will be later.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting ready to do this thing. How do we miss that? INN. Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Here we are. Stop saying It's been a crazy week at the network. We had more than a dozen live streams. We put out a podcast that I recorded with Gen X Girl 1994 yesterday. That was pretty chock full of great information. Appreciate everyone for showing up. What'd you do this week, Mr. Reef?
Nah, I don't think I did anything. I think I did a show Wednesday. Pulled a bunch of Oppo research, did loads of stuff. So, clipped up shows, put those up, clips are going out. All the things you do every week, right?
So this week on the Independent Review, Ryan clipped up one of the segments from Truth Stream Media, and I grabbed something. It jumped out at me as I heard it the first time when Steve played it on AM Wake Up, and then it showed it up back in Ryan's stream. So I went and grabbed it, and here it is.
Who are these people?
So we've got a new addition to the family of the Who Are These Peoples, too.
Who are these people?
Thank you to Cheese Slice, and then, of course, we've got Nancy to begin with. So we're now adding to that, and we can't leave out Jimmy. Wait, what happened, Jimmy? Uh-oh, my stream deck just froze. All right.
Yay.
Yay. It'll go in a second. Maybe, if it decides it wants to work. All right. We're here to talk about some news. I don't like talking about Trump, and we're going to probably have to deal with this for the next 4 years. So we're going to talk about some of the corruption that's happening right now because, what? Maybe because of the stream deck? I'm not sure, but I'm looking at what
that
Fred
was the
said. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Who are these people?
There we go. Thank you, Jimmy. We're going to talk about crypto. Unfortunately, crypto and Trump and a lot of things seem to be coming into circle focus together. So since all these things are converging, figured we'd kind of cover it and kind of cover how it all intersects and overlaps. Before we do that, I updated our Wall of Fame when we got that annual subscription to Indie Media Today from Jack Farrell. Thank you so much for that. We did have some people take care of us again and tip their streamers for the month. We are now at 20% of our $2,000 goal to get us funded for the year. So that means we're at about $400, and really appreciate everyone just through the first couple of months of this year. That's amazing. Thank you, really. And it makes a huge difference because we're able to keep the lights on and fund all the platforms and all the things that we're doing. Okay. So we're going to first talk about what's been going on in our world. And this is going to be a little inside baseball about Rokfin and Rumble and what we've been dealing with as live streamers. And we're honestly the smallest potatoes when it comes to dealing with this of anyone. But I've been writing about this for months and following this particular platform for years. And we've covered this extensively on the show already. And there's been some new developments. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And then I wrote an article this week, about what was happening. So we're going to go through all that. And some other things have been happening where they're now starting to turn off creators' channels and stop their access to it. They're not going to stop keeping the channel up with the content, which means that it will be available to be monetized, though I don't know how they're going to drive any traffic to it or who would go to watch it there unless they were a premium subscriber. I don't know. So I don't know how much money they're going to make off of it necessarily, but it's certainly a library of content that they now have access to that the person that created it does not. And that feels wrong on a lot of different levels. There was also the development of the sunsetting of the Ray token, the crypto Ray token for Rokfin. And a lot of people probably don't really know what that even means or what that's about. I'm going to get into that a little bit here. And if anybody wants to know more about that, come talk to me because I'll talk to anybody about it. I really don't like what just happened here. And then in much the same way, you know, meme coins, and this was not a meme coin. This was not a pump and dump necessarily, although I think it might have been a longer term type of planned pump and dump. I think that there was also the possibility that they thought that the platform could actually take off and that they could actually use these magic beans of the Ray token to augment if it kept going up in value, as long as nobody ever rug pulled and it never went below $1, that they could have sustained. But eventually, no. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Anna. Sylvester McMonkey McBean. You know, it's reading week. Very funny that you mentioned that. So for those who don't know, Sylvester McMonkey McBean is a character from The Sneetches, a Dr. Seuss character. And Jesse read The Sneetches on American Tradition very famously a while ago, and my kids love listening to it, and we've listened to it a bunch. And Sylvester McMonkey McBean comes and he sells them the Star Off and the Star On machine, and he's a huckster who comes in, takes all their money, and walks out the door laughing and saying, "You can't teach a Sneetch." So in that vein, it's very funny because it feels like Rokfin in a little bit is Sylvester McMonkey McBean for sure. So that's really funny. Yes, Anna, fuck them to death to steal content and my money. Yes, we're going to get into some of this. We're not going to get into all of it because we could literally be here for over an hour just talking about this, and there's other stuff I'd rather get to. But
plenty of Sneetches. Sneetches for me.
Millions of Sneetches. All right, so I thought that the best way to kind of start this off, let me zoom in so you're not seeing my DMs. I know everyone wants to see my DMs. All right, I tried to explain this in a story. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with who Coffeezilla is. He is a very large YouTube streamer that exposes crypto scams. And I figured this might be perfect and right in his wheelhouse and something that he might be interested in exposing. Because this is a pretty big rug pull right here that's happening that I see. So I said, here's another story that I think you might be interested in. Hey, how about that? All right. Crypto platform Rokfin has been supporting independent creators who are frequently censored off YouTube, but recently they shut down the crypto token they used to build the platform, but never told us. I wrote this up, which is the 5th article in a series that began last September. And this is called Rokfin's Bizarre Behavior. All right. And that's the article we're going to go through. And then I showed him one of the previous articles about their crypto challenges back in September that I had published. All right. The token shut down on February 17th with zero communication to the creators since June of 22 about it, when they sent one email that said they never that never said they were going to sunset it or abandon it, but that people should transfer and switch to a different liquidity pool. And they didn't explain what that was or call anybody or have any kind of open conversations or anything. They said it was a weird couple months as they were paying late paying creators for the money received in September and October. And then we received a new LLC registered to the CEO in September, as well as a new announcement of an offering, what was this? A new LLC, right, in September, an announcement of an offering in the college wrestling space. And yes, Reef, I know I need to share my screen with you, and I'm going to do that right now. All right.
I was going to wait. I was going to wait to tell you.
Nice. No, I got you. I think this is the right one. I think that's the right screen. I'm pretty sure that is. So, what had happened, and I watched this play out over the series of a couple of weeks, and nobody really was going to report on it or publish anything about it. And I'm like, well, thanks for the lane, everyone. Let's check back in on Rokfin. Wow, that was really echoey. Okay. So first I want to set anyone up that did not read the prior articles that I had written. This is yet another follow-up and companion to Rokfin video publishing platform, which is questioning whether they were in financial trouble on September 16th. It's also a companion. Here's one describing the crypto challenges, right, in getting paid out via the platform. And then another companion piece about the technical usability issues, both for users and for live streamers. And then there was another one about that if they were for sale, who would buy them and why would they? So I've gone pretty deep on this. I've also done a couple of follow-up articles / videos about this, about it not looking good and why. And I'm going to get into a little bit of that here. And then still paying short and still ghosting us. And remembering that this all transpired, this all kind of started really and started going downhill in June of last year when our channel stopped being able to live stream at INN. And that's when I noticed that there were some things that were strange, that I had not received a statement about our earnings or what had, what had come in over the month at the end of each month. And I started really looking deep into it. So since October 15th, we published our last update about Rokfin October 15th. On October 25th, I sent a very detailed and bulleted email to Matt, my primary contact, CCing their CEO, Martin Floriani. I asked for answers to very specific questions on the record about their new LLC that was registered, about their plan and tech, a roadmap for fixing tech issues, etc. So I said, and I'll read this out quickly. Hi, Matt and Martin. I've seen that Rokfin is replying to emails, so it's obvious that someone's email inbox is working, yet we get no replies to our emails asking about payout statements, our INN channel being restored, or anything else. As you're well aware, I've been in touch with several of the creators on the platform in the free-thinking media space, and we have some questions we feel it's reasonable to expect you to answer, and hope you'll agree to provide an update for the record. First, please provide an official comment for the record on the creation of Black Whale LLC, a Texas company registered by Martin on September 5th, as documented in the article below. What's the purpose of this new LLC? What is Rokfin doing to improve the tech issues that plague the platform we documented in our article, like the ribbon at the top not working, the chat box disappearing as you scroll down, strange character limitations in the video descriptions as we have to create a stream and make a whole separate document that just is for Rokfin because of their limitations? Why did the monthly statements to creators stop? And is there a plan and time frame to reinstate them? What are Rokfin's plans moving forward to support the Ray token to ensure it doesn't devalue to zero? Look at that. I specifically asked them that question in September. You're telling me they hadn't had a plan to sunset it at that point? So we'd already seen it dip below $1 every month at payout time. What's Rokfin doing to promote the creators in the free thinking space, given the revenue that Rokfin receives in monthly subscriptions and donations to the shows? Forget about the premium content and the watch hours, but the monthly revenue, okay, which they were now getting $15 a month instead of $9.99, and then the tips that were still coming in that they were taking credit card money and paying out in Ray tokens, or now we found out some people were getting out paid in USDC, but I'll get to that in a second. I also asked if creators can rely on a set day of the month to expect their tips from the prior month to be delivered to their wallets, the past 2 months had caused a lot of uncertainty about that. Very professional. I'm not trying to be accused. I want to hoping we can get back on track, our channel live streaming again, and confident that the money contributed by our viewers and subscribers will be paid out and in a timely fashion. Nothing wrong with anything that I put there business-wise. Within 90 minutes, I got a reply from Martin himself, which is the first time I'd ever heard from Martin since our channel began having streaming issues in June. And the first time really since I'd become a creator for more than 2 years. His abrupt offer was to apologize that the platform wasn't working for us and to help us make your transition off the platform. He didn't address one question on my list, specifically about the LLC he established in September. And to my knowledge, none of the questions I asked have been addressed. And there's a copy of that email right there, timestamped and everything. I blocked out his contact info. I was nice enough to do that, and I didn't want to dox him with his cell number. I said I never even bothered to reply to Martin, hoping that they might have eventually fix up the platform, fix our channel, and make it viable to add to our group of censorship-free, ad-free platforms that we're using, like Odyssey. Now, BitChute and Rumble are not ad-free at all, and we are working on a self-hosting platform right now, so that we will be censor-free and ad-free, and we'll be able to go direct. Other than the videos that already sit on Rokfin as an archive, we haven't missed it much, honestly, because we stopped streaming there in October. Nor have we missed the challenge of converting the crypto to usable cash. We haven't heard much of anything from anyone at Rokfin since the October email exchange, save for them seeing them promote some NCAA wrestling stuff in November and December. Again, INN has continued to not stream there, and they've made zero effort to communicate with us or, to our knowledge, any creator in the independent space since, unless they are asked a direct question. All right? So here's what really prompted this whole article, because Steve Poikonen, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. He is an Indie Media Award honoree from the class of 2024. All right? For those who don't know him... I got it if you don't. Yeah, I'll let you have it. All right. Steve is the founder and host of Slow News Day, one of the most successful channels on the Rokfin platform in the free-thinking media space in the past 5 years.
Steve, damn you!
Yeah. In 2023, he started a second channel, AM Wake Up, which often dominates Rokfin's top views for the month every month. AM Wake Up started as a weekday 3-hour morning show and has grown to an independent hub like INN, but they stream 16 shows weekly featuring more than a dozen independent creators. And I watched AM Wake Up really, kind of religiously lately, hang out and chat. I show up on, the Independent Review. They stream on Friday, and then they open up the StreamYard afterwards, and I very often will jump in there and talk with Steve and Ryan and whoever else is in there. I said, I'm going to let these tweets speak for themselves because this is a photo essay, and I had to break it up into 3 parts. Parts 1 and 2 are the back and forth exchange on Twitter between Rokfin and Steve. All right. Part 3 are my replies and challenges to Rokfin, which, of course, all went unanswered because they have no good answers, and they likely have muted me. They haven't blocked me because I can reply. Or they're just deliberately ignoring a creator that's been on their program for like more than 2 years. I don't generate much revenue, although we were starting to generate some substantial revenue because with the other channel not working, everything got funneled into one channel, and we started getting a decent number of tips over there. Plus, Anna and a couple of others had subscribed. All right. Part 3 is my replies, like I said. The long and short of it here is that Steve blatantly accuses Rokfin of tanking their platform, to which Rokfin makes a weak attempt to defend their behavior. Rokfin accepts zero accountability for its shortcomings and offers zero solutions or excuses or anything. Then they offer to offboard Steve, familiar language, in his channels if he's not happy. Slow News Day and AM Wake Up were producing thousands of dollars in tips monthly for Rokfin. He was living off this platform. Yeah. So this is, again, a drama back and forth. I don't really want to cover every single one of these. But, again, what they said was, if you are unhappy, we're happy to offboard you. Let us know. All right. The article link will be in the description afterwards. Steve replies, I'm literally your most liked and watched content creator. Your response to questions is to tell me to offboard. Fuck no. I've been kicked out of better bars by bigger bouncers. Handle business and give us a reason to promote you. But there was also a USDC switch that he mentioned that he had to tell Garland Nixon about. But I guess they switched from Ray token to USDC. And I'm like, wait, what happened? Because they didn't tell anybody. Right? And this is where I kind of jump in. Now, Rokfin, here's their weak-ass response. They're a premium subscription platform. It costs money to run the site, which is why we keep charge us a subscription fee and keep it ad-free. We don't advertise free content that's on multiple platforms. That's a slap at people that multi-stream. What they're now asking for is exclusive live stream content on a platform where they're not supporting the token, they're not communicating with their live streamers, and what? And nobody's going there unless you're driving them there as a destination. Our focus is on helping creators build recurring revenue through premium content, which is why we moved from the Ray token network to paying in $. I don't know what that even meant, because they didn't even say USDC. They didn't even say what. It's not real money. It's fake money. It's token money. All of your content, Steve, on Rokfin is free. The times have changed, and most platforms are now more open to truth. Which ones? Because we seem to be getting censored and demonetized and pushed down in the algorithm everywhere if you don't play ball and you don't sign up for their ad network or their premium subscription streamer premium partner program is the new one that Rumble is now doing, so that they can now give a leg up to a certain group of hand-picked live streamers that are willing to stream 30 hours a month and 5 hours of exclusive premium content a month to the platform. Yeah, we're going to get into it on Rumble too. All right. So happy to offboard. So I come in with haymakers, and of course they ghost me. Throw up your hands, take zero accountability for all the deficiencies laid out, and then offer to offboard. What the fuck? This isn't a business. It's a scam. They were getting plenty of tips, and you were tanking the Ray and ETH gas fees, killed any chance of a creator making money. Your failures have cost him money, and then you turn around and treat him like that? Like what? Have you even reached out to one of your biggest creators on your platform to check in? I know the answer is no. Wow, every creator should pay attention to this. And I signed this me because it came from the INN. It was a long thing. But I said, when your app has issues, your chat has issues, the crypto conversion is a problem, and you still haven't fixed our live streaming issue, nor did you give any indication that you will fix it. You still don't. Still busted. This was written 5 months ago. No excuses, no response. The Ray token tanking, the late payments, the lack of communication and transparency, the challenges of converting into usable money for your creators are all real things you're just ignoring because you have no good answers for them. But people see you, and we see the numbers. What do I mean? That their argument was pathetic, that they were getting a ton in tips from creators who weren't making content premium, but all of a sudden that money doesn't count, I guess? They've never addressed the wild volatility of the Ray token. When exchanging becomes cost prohibitive, what do you expect creators to do? Starve so they can pay the exorbitant gas fees to exchange your shitty token declining in price for a stable coin, then have to pay again to exchange the stable coin for fiat money so we can expend it in the real world? Because that's what you did.
Have a good time with your Bitcoin, your crypto, and everything else that you're playing with.
So before I wrote this article, I said Rokfin's getting eaten up in the replies to this thread, and it should be interesting to see where they go from here. But it looks pretty clear. Look for another upcoming article talking about their lack of explanation for any of their behavior, communication with their creators, clear shift to focus on exclusively college sports. And we're going to show you that. News of a shift from Ray to the USDC was interesting and still being investigated, and it's a mess. I mean, I've been hearing from people who've got wallets with thousands of Ray tokens. They never told them anything about converting it. They sent, again, we're gonna get into that here. One email 2.5 years ago, and if you missed it, you're shit out of luck. All right, why are they paying in USDC now, and are they bailing on the Ray token? I asked this actually 3 days after I found out that they had already bailed on the Ray token. They just never answered me. And what do they have to say to current Ray token holders about what's happened to the value while every other crypto has been flying? Zip. We never received anything. We still technically have a Rokfin channel, but we won't stream there. So Steve says, stay vigilant. Fucking blockchain. You need to invest in a wallet chain with the ICP. And I said,
Magnets, how do they work? They're miracles.
They are. I infinitely trust ICP more than Rokfin at this point.
I wouldn't do that.
Dude,
they're in the same boat. But yes.
Juggalos or Rokfin crypto scammers? Fuck, bro. You lose either way. Right?
You really do.
It's a total
loss.
No
offense to the jugs in the chat.
All right. It's a total loss. All right. So this was last Friday. I joined AM Wake Up, and then I did it again this Friday. I didn't clip that out, but here's where I started to look at, well, what's going on with Rokfin? What's their behavior been? So I started looking, first of all, have they been tweeting? What's going on with them on social media? Rokfin seemingly continued to focus on the college sports space, which we documented last time. Their Rokfin Twitter account has not made an original tweet since December 24th of last year. What? This is a platform that has hundreds of creators that make thousands of dollars every month still in tips for them. Zero support. On the other hand, the Twitter account for the NCAA wrestling has been very active and never stopped supporting college athletes, which is nice. They even dabbled into a professional wrestling, like the Greco-Roman style, not the WWE. And here's one of the tweets about the CWA Live. All right. Professional wrestling starts now. Okay. So they made some kind of a deal. Right. All right. And they've got all these different 300 pound. That's a big boys. All right. But
yes, it is.
We had talked
folk style, freestyle, catch wrestling, all that shit.
Right. We had talked about their Flow Sports deal to expand their NCAA wrestling coverage back in the October update, which they had announced on September 24th. All right. And this had happened just after they had short paid and then late paid all the creators with no explanation, no statement, other than to say that that they were just reshuffling some things and streamlining some processes, very corporate-y bullshit jargon with no transparency. All right, so this was the public PR announcement from Flow College, Martin Floriani. This is an organization affiliated with Martin. Now, we know some channels in here, all right? Channels getting axed. Wait, what? So yesterday, the day before I published this article on February 24th, it was reported that 6 active Rokfin channels all of a sudden had their follower counts wiped out to 0, and the people who tried could not refollow their channels. It's also being reported that those creators cannot add new content to their channels, nor can they log in or see their content or do anything with it at this point. That's been confirmed now.
That's a big deal, folks. Pay the fuck attention.
That's been confirmed.
That's a big deal.
Was this just a glitch, or are
Is this them?
Go ahead.
Is this them offboarding? You know? Is that what this is?
Right?
Like,
was it a glitch?
To random people?
I was even giving them the benefit of the doubt to a point, or are they deplatforming people? Because here are screenshots of the channel showing 0 followers, shown to me in a Telegram group last night. There's Marcus Cage, Political Matrix. Both of us have been on that show. 0 followers. Marcus can't log in. He had hundreds of Ray tokens sitting in a wallet. B-Lady, Maryam Henein. All right. I have a thing from her. She didn't even know this happened until she read this article and somebody told her about it. She was like, wait, what? Yep. All right, Beth Martins. I don't even know who some of these folks are. Organic Consumers was another one, a grassroots non-profit public interest organization dedicated to promoting and expanding organic and regenerative agriculture, justice, good health, and advocating for just food and farming systems. Terrible, right? Reason to deplatform them. Courtney Turner. Yeah. She's a pretty big live streamer. She's got a pretty big audience. And then another one called the Troubled Minds podcast, and that deals with alien stuff. So those were the 6 I heard about. Today, or since then, I've now heard about JB Font is now included, and the Corbett Report. James Corbett, a legend in this space. So if they're going to come after Corbett, they're going to come after all of us. And here are the links for you to find these channels entirely, and see for yourself that they have 0 followers. And that's messed up. And that potentially could open them up to a lawsuit. But the problem is that, and we're going to get into what the conclusion here, my conclusion at this point. But first, let's get into Rokfin paying in USDC and they abandoned the Ray token. What's going on? It said the Ray token appears to no longer be supported by Rokfin from all appearances. Per one of Steve's angry emails to Rokfin, they're no longer paying in Rokfin in Ray tokens, but rather USDC or Circle, which is a stable coin pinned to the US dollar, which actually would be better for the live streamers because it cuts out one step of the middleman. We were having to exchange the Ray token for USDC or USDT anyway, and then you can move USDC or USDT into US dollars in your bank account using Coinbase, which is a whole other problem.
Yep.
So and then I said, USDC, this is weird. I don't ever remember seeing anything from Rokfin about USDC, but I guess I was wrong because I went to my email and searched for the words Rokfin and USDC and found one communication from June of 2022. And it reads, creators, Rokfin recently moved its ETH Ray liquidity pool to the first USDC Ray liquidity pool on Uniswap. Pairing Ray to USDC instead of ETH makes sense as we look at Ray and how it fits into the broader crypto markets. Over the last few weeks, Ray didn't have any significant amount of sell pressure. The price fell because it was paired against ETH on the Uniswap liquidity pool. Now you're getting into Greek, right? I can't even understand that. Now, the Ray price is independent of ETH and is more reflective of the Ray market. An added bonus is that you can trade USDC for USD for free using Coinbase, as I just mentioned. And they give you instructions on how to do that. They tell you to join our Discord and email an email address that's no longer active at this point. It said if a creator like me missed this email or did not follow the steps to connect their wallet to Uniswap, they've been using wallet apps Coinbase or MetaMask to transact on the Ethereum blockchain. What that means is that it costs ETH to transact, and that those ETH fees have become cost prohibitive as the price of ETH exploded. Like to $3,000 per ETH, per Ethereum coin. And what they're talking about is these gas fees, these transaction fees, that every time you exchange your Ray tokens for USDC, you have to pay like a tax, a gas fee. And these gas fees started to get to the point where if you had $50 or $100 in Ray tokens, it was costing you $100 worth of ETH to be able to get your $100 of Ray token out. It didn't make sense. Per Steve's thread above, Garland Nixon was recently paid out directly in USDC and was confused when he went to look for the Ray in his wallet, only to learn that Rokfin stopped paying in Ray. They didn't tell anybody. Now, I said this is definitely positive moving forward as USDC isn't subject to the wild fluctuation of the US dollar. All right, but why did they communicate that they were doing this and not paying out in Ray anymore? Are they sunsetting the token? That's what it felt like, right? So again, this is Steve confirming that it looks and feels shady as hell. All right, that it when they were challenging, really, we're tanking our platform. Well, for independence at least, right? Because there's no money, not enough substantial money compared to the money that they're getting from their Flow Sports operation, clearly, that they're like, well, screw these guys. That's what it appears to be. And I'm not going to say that because I don't know for sure, but gas fees are a mess, right? What do they plan to do for anyone with outstanding Ray tokens? Where do they even have any value at this point? I still hold about 100 Ray tokens in 2 separate wallets from MetaMask, one for INN and one for in the Indian INN channel that was my first channel. All right. I never cashed those out because it was too expensive in the ETH to exchange them, like I just explained, that at one point was worth $100 or more, and it took a long time to earn that, like months. And we're likely never going to see that. All right. Everybody donate, you know, and I feel awful. And I feel terrible because the people watching this stream gave their hard-earned money to help us, and Rokfin ended up.
Who are these people?
Thank you.
like that.
And Rokfin ended up with all the money. Or they paid us in their magic beans, which were effectively close to worthless. Now, so like I said, it was cost prohibitive. We're never going to see that money. The Ray token at last count was down to 46 cents, and per coin lore, quote, the coin is inactive. We have not gotten price information for it. The last time we got price info was on February 17th of this year. If you think this is an error, please contact us. And there is the receipts of the screen cap from CoinLore showing the historical chart on the Ray token over the, since basically the life of the thing since early 2019. And then it ended up back at 46 cents. All right. Price chart from 1970 until today. And showing that as of the 17th, it basically was done.
Mm-hmm.
Many independent creators on the platform remain in the dark about anything the company's up to. Creators don't get monthly statements, to my knowledge, breaking down what they earned in a given month and what Rokfin is taking as their cut. There's been zero of the technical issues addressed in the last 9 months, and now it appears that they've started deplatforming channels that aren't producing revenue without explanation. And now I find out that channels that are premium are also doing the same, getting shut down. That they have content locked behind their premium paywall, and that's not good enough for Rokfin. All right. I would advise independent streamers to move toward platforms that engage with their creators like Odyssey or BitChute, or even better, toward a self-hosted solution independent of platforms. And funny thing is that even Ron Placone figured it out. And I love Ron. You know, we all love Ron for years ago, and he went his own way, but he put out on, I think that's Blue Sky, but he screen capped it and put it on his Facebook. I'm no longer on Rokfin. Engagement had become little more than a spam dump, but I know there were still some folks who tuned in there. They nixed my channel without warning because I don't put content behind a paywall. Please follow elsewhere or on Patreon for as low as $1 per month. And he'll write you a theme song, by the way, for that $1 a month. Because he wrote one for me years ago. Indie Left News. Dude, terrible. Sorry. It's great, but it's terrible, and it's cheesy, and it did everything that we wanted at the time, and memories. All right. What's your experience
some
with
thoughts
Rokfin?
are inside thoughts.
Thanks. So I do put links to all the other articles below so that you can go through the whole history and do the deep dive. I then talk again about our value for value system. Okay, everything we do is free to all. We don't paywall our content, so Rokfin will likely come after our channels next. All right. And then also, I tagged all of the former or active Rokfin creators that I know on Substack. So when I publish this, they got an alert, hey, saying you were tagged in this. So I got a couple of responses, but here's our B lady. I had no idea they wiped out my followers. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
I said, damn, I'm so sorry.
Dutch bastard.
All right. I found out from the AM Wake Up Telegram group Sunday. She said, so it's not reversible. There's no way of knowing my followers. Should I reach out to a lawyer? I never got a payout. What type of bullshit is this? It's some serious bullshit is the answer. And let me also, so yeah, here's the thing here. Same thing. I had no idea they wiped out my followers. And then this gentleman, Troubled Minds, it's official. The Rokfin has frozen the Ray token and rug pulled equity from possibly all creators on their platform. I wonder how it'll work out. Going against a lot of people with sizable audiences seems to be a poorly thought out scam in this case. Whoever has information, please contact Indy at INN, who's done a fine job covering it. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And he said, not many people are paying attention to this or looking out for the small creator that got hoodwinked. Now, I've also spoken with another creator that had thousands, maybe even in the tens of thousands of Ray tokens sitting in a wallet and couldn't even access it and couldn't cash it out. And now that the token is worth nothing or that they can't exchange it, it's literally worthless. Tens of thousands of dollars. All right. Number one. Yeah, this is really bad. I was asked about lawsuits. The problem with a lawsuit is that we don't have any written agreement with Rokfin or with any of these platforms. We're basically at their mercy. So we're kind of, they change their terms and conditions and at will. We have no choice but to accept them or pull your content and don't give them your content, which means that you're not going to get seen effectively. Or you have to just tease your content on all these other places and push people only to see like the other stuff on what you host yourselves. Like, I don't know what the answer is here, but the answer is certainly not to continue to work with these platforms that we literally have zero protection against. They can do whatever they want to us. Correct. And we have zero legal standing, it seems. Thoughts?
I was never a fan necessarily, Like, I kind of feel like there's this idea of we need alternate platforms to beat the original platforms that are terrible, which is, to me, like a real capitalist free market solution, as opposed to actually using that energy to fight the original problem, But I get the necessity at this point. It's just, it's kind of like the Wild West right now with, it's a very tech bubbly, the .com bubble comes to mind with crypto and blockchain stuff. And if the minute I hear those buzzwords, I'm out at this point, on any platform that tries to use those. So not great, but, I would side-eye anything talking about they're connected to blockchain stuff at this point.
Anything, but, any platform that connects themselves to a blockchain, I'm a little wary of. I don't want to go any much further.
And especially if people shaved their knuckles for justice for it,
Woo!
But
we all shaved our knuckles for Clown Show at one point. All right. But here, Colin, thank you so much for your support for the network that you're a part of. Okay.
Appreciate you, fam.
Appreciate you both sharing an important story that affects us in the independent media space. Both people take notice and abandon Rokfin like a sinking ship. I hope people do too. All right. I think they're not going to have a choice at one point, and they're just going to be shut down, and you're not even going to be able to go and see your favorite creator there. All right. There are some questions. Look, some of the creators you may not like, or you may have questions about what's gone on in the past with them. I don't like their money being fucked with. I don't care about anything that they do or who they are or anything about any of that. This is specifically about how Rokfin is treating the people that have made it money for years, regardless of how you feel about them. Right? And it's just wrong on every level. And they have zero to say about it. They have zero transparency, and there will be zero accountability. And part of that is because of the shit that's happening with the Trump administration right now, and how the crypto industry has bought off all the gatekeepers and all the potential people that might hold somebody accountable for a rug pull like this. All right.
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? Well,
Have a good time with your Bitcoin?
no, please do not pay us in Bitcoin. Please do not pay us in anything other than fiat USD cash if you are able
Your
to.
crypto and everything else that you're playing with?
Shut up, you clown. All right. So there's our wall of fame. We love these people. All right. The way to get us actual cash like Colin just did is co-fi.com/Indie News Network. We have Cash App, $Indie News Network, PayPal.me/Indie News Network as well. And then, of course, we have our INNnewsletter.com, which I'd love for you to subscribe to. But you know what? Don't pay there. Go to Ko-fi, because INN Newsletter, let me tell you, Substack takes 10%, and then Stripe takes another 2.5%. So we're only getting, again, let's try to keep as much. You want to support the streamers? Those platforms have got hundreds of millions of dollars in VC money that are supporting them. We got you for supporting us to hold them accountable. So yes, shave your knuckles for Pfizer. Thank you very much. Love it. Love it. Jesus was a carpenter. Yes, he was. Thank you, Anna.
Was he?
Much love to Anna.
Jesus was a friend of mine.
He was a Jewish carpenter too, but he would definitely have been like an anti-Zionist Jewish carpenter, I would say, on that side. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to meme coins, the Trump administration, and what the fuck is going on? My word. So I've kind of ignored this story. I've laughed about it, but I just figured we really need to at least talk about it on this show a little bit more than just to laugh about it. And I found this thanks to our friend, the Golden Monarch, and we're going to bring one of his articles in a minute. All right.
You are fake news.
No, this is not fake news. This is real.
Wrong.
Thank you. The Trump coin.
Don't be rude.
The Trump coin cometh. So, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the grift.
I'm going to come.
Like, I want to send this to Jesse Jett, because he had a song about how I stopped learning to worry and love the something, as far as that was Dr. Strangelove, I believe.
Yes.
All right. As well as he uses the grift at the end. And it's like such an homage to Jesse. I love it. So this gentleman, Michel de Cryptadamus, doesn't write very much, but they're very active in calling out meme coins and the scam that is crypto all over Substack notes. So he wrote this the day after Trump was inaugurated, you notice, January 21st. All right. This wasn't supposed to be my next article. I didn't want to write an article about Trump's meme coins. Unfortunately, after spending a few days watching journalists completely bungle the reporting on what will hopefully go down in history as the most audacious financial scam ever pulled by a president of the United States of America, I felt I should collect what we actually know about what the fuck just happened with this recent onslaught of Trump family-themed pump and dump scams that were so outrageously brazen and immoral that even the crypto bros who love Trump started completely losing their shit on social media. Why hast thou forsaken us in favor of a shitcoin scam? was the cry heard across all the social media wastes. This is a very entertaining article.
I thought it would be, my meme coin wasn't worth anything anymore.
Well, basically, he said,
why did I buy this and the Hawk Tua coin? Why?
Well, no, that's not what they're mad about. Do you know how hard it is to make a large majority of the thought leaders in crypto calling anything out as a scam, much less something associated with the Messiah figure who's delivered them from the tyranny of the SEC? What's his name? I will fire. What's his name on day one who resigned before that? All right. Gary Gensler. This is an industry best described by Hunter S. Thompson's memorable turn of phrase. The crypto industry is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where thieves and pimps run free and good men die like dogs. Unquote.
Correct.
And that's the good part of the industry.
We can't stop here. This is backcountry.
The bad part of the industry involves things like fentanyl trafficking, Vladimir Putin, and Hezbollah. Okay, he's not perfect, but okay.
Yes.
Trump has really proven himself to be the GROAT, whatever that is. What is a meme coin? So I figured let's back up a little bit and let's talk about meme coins in general, because there's going to be a bunch about meme coins here tonight. A meme coin is literally just a crypto token, the same thing as something like Tether's USDT, which we've talked a lot about. Tether, which invested $775 million into the Rumble platform. We'll get into why I think that's gonna lead to. He says, except that no one even pretends that it has any utility or real world value. They can exist on any blockchain, but most of them live on a blockchain called Solana, which was made famous, by the way, for its close association with Sam Bankman-Fried of the FTX scam.
Correct.
Because Solana is a very cheap platform blockchain to send transactions. The fact that it's very cheap to send transactions on Solana has led to a lot of scammers building up a lot of very efficient tooling for launching scams on Solana, which leads to a lot of scams being perpetrated on Solana, and so on, in what amounts to a sort of virtuous cycle of fraudulence on Solana. But you don't need to understand anything about Solana or blockchains to understand meme coins. It's blockchain, it's cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
The right way to think about trading meme coins is like a giant game of financial chicken. Let's take an example. You and a small group of degenerate gamblers or degens that you probably met on a video game that involves blowing each other away with guns gather around a campfire and decide to create a meme coin called Fart Coin. Yes, this all legitimately happened. You all chip in the princely sum of around €1 to create 1 million fart coins out of thin air, which you divide amongst yourselves. After the fart coins have been divvied up between you, you all get up from the campfire and stride into the social media wastes where you start tweeting, bleeding, and TikToking about fart coins' virtues in the hopes that you can convince other people to buy some of your fart coins. Again, I wish this was like a joke, but this was fucking real. This actually happened. If your merry band of fart coiners can convince enough people to buy fart coins, then the price of fart coin will go up, at which point other degens might notice that the price of fart coins is going up and start buying fart coins for themselves. You have a run. Once these other degens own some fart coins, they'll start to do their own social media posts about how great fart coin is and how it's going to make everyone rich, recruiting new degens to the cause, rinse, repeat, etc. Now, holy shit. Now, in order to win this game of fart coin chicken, at some point you will have to sell your fart coins for real money.
Yes.
If you sell too late, meaning after everyone else sells, there'll be no buyers and you lose all your money. Womp womp. But if you hold your fart coins as 1 million new suckers buy up tons of fart coins, you could make 1,000,000% returns to the moon. moon. Thus, the game is to sell your fart coins to suckers as close to the top as possible before the inevitable crash in the fart coin market.
Wow, incredible.
Fart coin is all too real. All right. If everything about what I just described sounds incredibly stupid to you, then congratulations, you've understood it perfectly. I would say, however, that meme coins are in some sense the most honest corner of the cryptoverse. Most crypto scams involved some bro promising to solve hunger in Eritrea or create peace in the Middle East, or if you just buy some of their fart coins. Meme coins, however, dispense with all the pretense and favor full-on degenerate gambling and social media engineering. Armed with a deep understanding of the Twitter and TikTok algorithm and command of a small army of AI chatbots, you can make truly obscene amounts of money trading meme coins. Generational wealth amounts of money even, which is ridiculous. That's just how the stupid economy works these days, right? It's maybe worth mentioning that it has become extremely fashionable recently for the thought leaders in the crypto industry to describe the world's largest and most productive and profitable companies as being boomer meme coins. Make of that whatever you will. Berkshire Hathaway is the original boomer meme coin. Okay. Yeah, because Buffett used to buy a stock and then go shill. Except that stock had value and had earnings and used to go up in value, unlike a lot of this other shit. All right? Unreal. Let me give you one final important insight. The only difference between Bitcoin and a meme coin like Fartcoin is that Bitcoin came first. In other words, Bitcoin is a meme coin. A lot of people have convinced themselves they don't understand Bitcoin when in reality, they understand Bitcoin just fine, but they just can't believe it could be as stupid as the thing they're envisioning. But it is exactly that stupid. I love this. It can't be that stupid. You must be explaining it wrong. The only major difference is the optimal strategy for the Bitcoin game is slightly different than that for something like the Fartcoin game. Hyping the token relentlessly on social media is, of course, core to both games, but the Bitcoiners, Zionist Bitcoiners, I'm sorry, Golden Monarch, every time he has like this verbal tick. Whenever he sees Bitcoin, he wants to Zionist Bitcoin, because Zionists are running and benefiting totally from Bitcoin. They're the ones that hold 96% all the institutional Bitcoin held by Zionists, by the way. They are using this thing to inflate their own fucking pockets.
The money is there.
No, the money is, well, yes, because they're taking it from all the schmucks that are putting their money into this shit, real money that they earn, buying a fucking digital key that's worthless if you have no power, by the way, if you have no electricity. Hyping the token relentlessly is, of course, again, both core to both, but Bitcoiners lean more heavily on trying to convince all the other Bitcoiners to never, ever, ever sell their Bitcoins, no matter what, to HODL. Okay, which is hold on for dear life in the parlance of the bros. Because
diamond hands and all that.
Because the last person to sell loses the game. If you can convince most of the people who have Bitcoins to never sell, well, then you by definition can't be the last to sell, right? But unlike Bitcoin, which is at this point most accurately described as a religion, it's pretty hard to convince someone to never, ever, ever sell something called Fartcoin. All right. And he, by the way, provides a very handy, we're all going to make it, is a crypto bro tool for I'm trying to get rich off you idiots. And there's a handy footnote glossary down at the bottom that describes a lot of these terms. So let's get into the Trump coin, because this was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. First out of the gate was the official Trump meme token. And this happened the night of the crypto ball. And I don't know if you guys, if people watching are familiar with what the crypto ball is, but on inauguration night, Trump attended a gala affair that was held and put on by the crypto industry. And during this thing, all the lights shut off, and they announced that he is launching his own meme token, $Trump. Okay? Nobody apparently knew that this was happening. My new official Trump meme is here. It's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning. God, it could be Charlie Sheen. Join my very special Trump community. Get your Trump now. Get to TrumpMemes.com. Have fun. Right? And this was the entire thing that was posted. Look at how many views there were. 97 million views on the 17th of January. And I don't know why he blurred out the time stamp there. It was announced as the first, at the first initial official inaugural crypto ball was taking place in DC. The crypto ball, as grotesque and utterly classless a sausage fest as the most grotesquely classless sausage fest you could possibly imagine, was attended by both the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, as well as a delegation from Nexo, the Russian mafia's favorite crypto bank, whose offices were hit with a massive raid by Bulgarian authorities early last year. All right, so there's the House Speaker addressing the crypto ball. Just think, only 4 years ago, this man was lying to Liz Cheney's face about how the Constitution works, and now here he is, surrounded by scam artists in a freak show of absolute cringe. They grow up so fast.
Yes, they do.
Some of the attendees were really excited about their new Trump tokens, as well they should be, seeing as how they probably made millions of dollars in just a few minutes out of absolutely nothing. Here we go. Right? The local top wouldn't be reached until...
Is that Urkel?
Well, no. Nick O'Neill, whoever this is.
Did I do that?
So the next day, my personal favorite aspect of the Trump launch was the contractual terms and conditions on offer over at the website gettrumpmemes.com. Some of the backstory is that the crypto industry has been fighting back against government regulators for years now by attempting to claim that cryptocurrency tokens cannot be investment contracts because they're not contracts at all. Literally hundreds of millions of dollars have been given to lawyers without consciences to enable them to boldly stroll into courtrooms across the globe and claim that without a contract between the buyer and the seller, a crypto token cannot be an investment contract. And if crypto tokens are not investment contracts, then the laws that have dutifully protected retail investors from scam artists for almost 100 years don't apply to crypto tokens. The Ray token that I just talked about in the last segment fit that at all? In other words,
very possibly.
In other words, it's open season on retail chumps who think they can strike it rich by investing in fart coins. So what does this look like to you? And here are the T's and C's. You agree to the terms and conditions in its entirety when you A, access or use the website, B, access and or view any of the links to third-party resources and other information, very, jargony stuff. But if you purchase any of the Solana blockchain-based fungible cryptographic assets known as Trump meme cards or $Trump, now here's the fine print in caps. The Trump memes are intended to function as an expression of support for and engagement with the ideals and beliefs embodied by the symbol $Trump and the associated artwork, deemed the artwork, and are not intended to be or to be the subject of an investment opportunity, investment contract, or security of any type. No federal or state agency or any other governmental authority has passed on or made any recommendation or endorsement of the Trump memes or the fairness or suitability of the purchase of the Trump memes, nor has any governmental authority passed upon or endorsed the merits of the services. Okay? That's a lot of legal jargon to say caveat emptor. And that this has no value and that nobody has said it's worth anything. So buy it at your own risk. It's also worth mentioning that despite the hype and the big numbers, it's actually the case that 80% of the Trump tokens that were created are not available to be traded by anyone yet. Because, you see, the Trump insiders have reserved 80% of the tokens for themselves to be slowly sold to suckers over the course of the first 3 years of the second Trump administration. So you were all bidding on a 20% pool of moons and men. Now here's the story, and this is why I brought this whole thing, that within minutes of the token's launch, of the price of Trump proceeded to do the whole to the moon thing that crypto bros love. And again, that's the rocket emoji, moon emoji is crypto dialect for this price is going to go way up very soon. It went from $0 to $6.53 in roughly a minute. And from there, rapidly rising to $72 within a few hours, theoretically increasing Trump's net worth by 2,000% with an on-paper boost of almost $60 billion. Guy's worth about $3 billion in real life. 60 billion he pumped his net worth up to, at least momentarily. All right. It says there's a whole lot of caveats to those numbers, but I'll let Molly White explain them. And there's a whole explanation to that. That 60 billion briefly made him one of the world's richest men. And that's on paper, but not really, because he didn't cash anything and he couldn't. Wasn't worth. During that first minute, someone with godlike market timing skills, who was definitely not engaging in insider trading, managed to A, decide that the Trump token was real, and B, buy $1 million worth of Trump tokens. This godlike trader achieved over a 1,000% return on their investment within seconds. According to Bubble Maps, as of Sunday, they had managed to cash out a small chunk of their Trump tokens for $20 million in real money, and were still holding on to more than $90 million worth of Trump tokens to be sold later. Again, not worth $90 million anymore now. I'm far too lazy and this story is far too stupid to bother checking. But if you want to check the data, it is available on soulscan.com.
Mm-hmm.
So here's Bubble Maps looking at the suspicious trades.
Buble.
Right? They sold 20 million and still hold the 96. All the data is public, but I wouldn't recommend digging into who was behind this trade unless you have a really burning desire to meet Kash Patel at some point in the next 4 years.
Ugh. And his girlfriend from PragerU
and
Unit 8200.
That's right. All right.
Correct.
You're probably wondering something like, wait, is that even legal? To which the short answer goes something like, well, it wasn't legal yesterday, but it's almost certainly legal now. A world where pump and dump scams are legal is the world American voters wanted, and it's the world they're going to get. Buckle up. Now, early on in its lifetime, Trump was mostly available to trade only on things called decentralized exchanges, which I'm not going to explain right now, though you can read my explanation of some of the details of how useful they are for laundering money for rogue nuclear states here, or initially for how Rokfin got its start, because they used a DeFi exchange called Kyber, and then they moved to Uniswap. They always went DeFi because they didn't want to go to a centralized exchange. And there's a lot of reasons to not go to a centralized exchange either. And mostly because the coin that you claim to buy at a centralized exchange really isn't yours. It's theirs that they buy and hold on your behalf. It's really messed up.
Right.
So the decentralized exchange thing changed when Justin Sun, who's a man that's been indicted by multiple federal agencies for insider trading and market manipulation, and is so crooked that even the rest of the crypto industry is like, yeah, that guy's a crook, listed Trump for trading on his crypto exchange named HTX, or formerly known as Huboy. But the first and most important running of money laundry is that you must rename your company for apparently no reason for every 2 to 3 years. HTX, for the record, Huboy Transactions, whatever, is a company that has been banned from operating within the United States and is widely believed to have deep ties to Chinese organized crime groups that dominate the global money laundering industry. Give me a China. I need a China.
China?
China.
Thank you. All right. Justin Sun is also, by the way, the largest investor in Trump's other crypto venture, World Liberty Financial. Put a pin in that information. We'll need it later. All right. World Liberty Financial, he actually corrects later on. That's not actually a Trump token. He actually just licensed his name to World Liberty Financial for them to say that it was a Trump coin, but he doesn't hold or actually endorse the thing at all. He says, I'm sure that these things are just coincidences about Justin Sun. Anyways, the rest of the Chinese crypto exchanges that are also banned from operating within the U.S. and much like HTX are also widely believed to be involved in laundering money for fentanyl traffickers, terrorists, and rogue nuclear states, as well as independent content creators, apparently, rapidly jumped on board. Right? Eventually, even the regulated American exchanges like Coinbase decided to get in on the action. Gross. All right. They added that the night after the Trump coin launched. It's worth mentioning that Coinbase only started to allow its customers to trade dubious scams like meme coins after it was sued by America's SEC for massive amounts of securities fraud. That reality was the subject of a piece that Michel had published a month or so before the election, when he said that the responses of the executives to the charges filed against these recently indicted crypto companies has almost uniformly been to give the government the middle finger while doubling down on profiting off idiots trading dog and frog themed meme coins. I stand by every word. In fact, I would like to thank the token listing team at Coinbase for so effectively proving my point. It's also worth mentioning that Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, was one of the largest overall donors to the 2024 election. The super PAC he and his Broligarch buddies funded contributed to the election of both Donald Trump for president, as well as something like 120 of the 538 members of Congress, all hand-selected with the explicit goal of legalizing meme coin scams. You may think I'm joking and or exaggerating about this, but I assure you I'm not. So back to the meme coins, because there's a lot to that. The stampede to buy the Trump tokens got so intense that it started to break things in the crypto markets. The decentralized exchanges on Solana started creaking under the load. Orders started failing to execute. People sold so much of their other cryptocurrencies to raise cash to buy Trump that it caused a small market crash across all tokens not named Trump after a once and future president. Records were shattered. Trump became the fastest meme coin to hit $1 billion market cap, and hours later became the fastest meme coin to hit a $10 billion market cap, eventually becoming the largest meme coin to ever exist, as well as the 15th largest cryptocurrency of any kind by market cap. More Trump was traded on chain than any token in Solana history. Pretty soon, the market cap of Trump made it equivalent to the 143rd most valuable company in the United States, worth more than all of America's major defense contractors, food producers, and makers of things like housing and cars. And there was so much rejoicing. All right. Trump just keeps soaring to higher and higher prices. It now has a fully diluted valuation of $36 billion. Here you go. Making it worth more than Kraft Heinz, United Airlines, Mitsubishi, DraftKings, Young Brands. Okay, nothing's wrong with this picture until a woman showed up and crashed the sausage party. Après Melania, le deluge. Yes, I'm not kidding. All right, you can buy Melania now. It's a bit different if you've ever had the misfortune of encountering one of the weekly Melania Mondays threads on the right-wing message boards, where hordes of pro-Trump incels spend all day salivating over pictures of Melania Trump in her underwear. Melania coin was released a little less than 24 hours after Trump. Now, while some of the bros were slightly put off by the idea of the first crypto president starting his reign by launching a shitcoin scam, the Bitcoin maxis in particular really hated it. More on that later. Plenty of the rest were extremely stoked about Trump. Oh my fucking God, our prez loves crypto. Let's fucking go to the moon. Was a typical sentiment expressed in the strange Creole of emoji, gibberish, and avarice that the bros used to communicate with each other. Unfortunately, however, they were not stoked about Melania. In fact, when the Melania launch announcement tweet appeared on the social media wastes, there was an incredibly drastic change of sentiment from the, oh my fucking God, our prez loves crypto, to something more akin to, oh my fucking God, the president's family is a bunch of scam artists who are using us for exit liquidity. Run for your lives. Fuck. This car crash of a vibe shift immediately caused the price of Trump to fall catastrophically by more than 50% within minutes. Holy shit. Look at that. All right. Melania cost Donald half his net worth, and she didn't even need to ask for a divorce. That's a fucking great line. All right. To give rise to some great memes. This gave rise to some great memes, especially among the Bitcoiners, usually referred to as these Bitcoin maxis, douchebags like Max Kaiser and Michael Saylor, who are, and this may surprise you, not fans of crypto, which they view as the provenance of unenlightened lesser life forms who don't yet understand things like Austrian economics and scarcity. That's their nonsense excuse why Bitcoin is different from every other crypto. In fact, they view crypto, and especially things like meme coins, as deeply damaging to the future Bitcoin-based utopia they plan to leave to their children. So, Bitcoiners thinking of Trump presidency meant Bitcoin being added to a new strategic reserve. Trump meme coin on Solana. No! $sign Melania, I am in hell, help me. Well, more has happened since then. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve refers to Senator Cynthia Lummis's plan to transfer roughly 1/4 of America's military budget directly into the hands of people who own Bitcoin. Don't laugh. This is a very real thing for which legislation has already been drafted. Amidst the carnage, now we're getting to the spoils, just how much they made. Amidst the carnage of some intrepid blockchain researchers started to look into just how much real money Trump insiders had managed to pull out of the Trump launch, and it turned to be a lot more than I personally would have thought possible. All right. Trump had already sold $500 million worth of tokens so far. The Trump team still controlled 85% of the supply. Now it's possible that some of that $500 million was just internal reallocation. That's doubtful. But either way, we can be sure that they made a fuck ton of money appear out of nowhere by turning Trump's brand into a meme coin and selling it to idiots addicted to social media memes involving dogs and or frogs. Probably hundreds of millions of dollars at a minimum as of the time of Connor's tweet, possibly pushing $1 billion at this point. It also turned out that not only had the Trump team seemingly managed to make hundreds of millions of dollars appear out of thin air by selling Trump tokens, insiders also seemed to control the decentralized marketplaces where Trump had started trading before all the Chinese organized crime exchanges started letting their users, non-American users, trade it. While it's unclear if Trump insiders controlled all such marketplaces, they definitely controlled most of the biggest ones. That's called sniping, by the way. It's annoying grunt work to figure out exactly how much they made in fees. So instead, I'll just say that last time Connor checked on the on-chain data, the sum total in fees earned across the decentralized markets for Trump for Solana was $58 million. Up there with what you would pay for one of the biggest and most expensive apartments in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Of course,
Open what I just sent you, pretty please. Thank you very much.
of course, that kind of chump change won't get you more than a few hundred Ferraris, but let's turn the other way. Trump is currently, what was that? It's $70.
Yeah, open it up. Open the thing. What does that look like to everyone? This is the Trump USD. This is the actual graph.
Okay, hold on. Open in browser. Hold on.
Look at this graph.
Oh my God, this is very funny. Yes. Anything look familiar? Anything look familiar about that shape right there?
It does look very familiar. Yes, it does look extremely familiar. If you just turn it sideways, it's very apparent.
Have fun with your Bitcoin. You're getting played.
Yeah.
Right? So, getting back to Michel here.
Have a good time with your Bitcoin.
Okay, you could get a few hundred Ferraris, of course, but thankfully at this point, based on the... What was that?
I don't know.
That might have been my headphones. I don't know how. I had it charging. Based on the incredibly high volume of Trump trading going on these days, following that initial assessment, insiders have probably earned well over $100 million in fees on Trump trades. Put it together with the hundreds of millions of dollars that they were able to extract from selling their initial allotment of Trump, and it's a pretty impressive take for 10 minutes of work creating a meme coin and sending a tweet. Although, no, that was the result of it. It took months to create this meme coin, build the hype, and figure out how to launch it so it would do that. Of course, then there's the possibly uncomfortable question of where did all this money come from? Because someone had to buy up all those Trump tokens, right? China is apparently where that pumped. All right. Look here, scroll down, sort by volume, coin market cap. Almost all of it came from China, according to this. Binance, what is that? Buy King, and these are all Chinese exchanges, effectively. It's not like Coinbase.
Allegedly.
Right. Well, no, not allegedly. This is it. This is the exchanges that were actually doing the most Trump coin transacting. All right. And it was all China because they all bought in. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the hundreds of millions the Trump team was able to pocket came from people with Chinese or Singaporean passports. And it definitely doesn't mean that the 500 million flowing through sketchy Asian crypto exchanges into Trump insiders' pockets was actually just a way for someone, TikTok, all right, to pay a massive bribe in broad daylight to convince Trump that banning a large Chinese social media platform from the American market was a bad idea. It does, however, mean that the business through which all these hundreds of millions of dollars passed on their way to Trump insiders' pockets were run by people with Chinese or Singaporean passports operating out of a country somewhere on the eastern half of the Eurasian continent. Now, he also says that Protos pointed out that the hourly trading volumes for Trump suggest that it is actually Chinese traders and not just international traders trading on the Chinese exchanges driving the Trump market, which is also interesting that you've got China buying up so much Trump coin. Bringing back American jobs, am I right? But not all the money came from China. Plenty of it came from the sad souls who've gathered together on the official Trump coin subreddit to spin various conspiracy theories to explain how they lost all their money on a high-quality investment like Trump. Donald and Melania have a son named Barron. Barron apparently loves crypto, a fact a lot of people seem to think the Trump and or Melania meme coins were his and Eric's doing, though the jury's still out on who was responsible for this particular hurricane of fraud. So, yep, Barron also happened. Or at least the team tried to make Barron happen, but much like Fetch before it, Barron didn't really happen. The Trump insiders in charge of the Barron launch only managed to scam their fans for more money than most Americans make in a few years on it, packing it in pretty quickly after the token was launched. Barely worth getting into, but here it is for posterity. All right. A third TrumpCoin family token has hit the blockchain. There's evidence that the wallets associated with the launch of Melania are also connected to a failed official Barron meme token that debuted last night and peaked at $500 million of market cap. They're in the process of selling their remaining tokens right now. Total pump and dump type of stuff. This is Ponzi scheme. I'm just going to put a link in here to let you know that the pastor who spoke at the Trump inauguration launched his own meme coin within hours of his speaking engagement at the Capitol. I shit you not. All right. No, this is just how the economy works now. Trump wasn't even the only cryptocurrency token Trump sold to Chinese investors over this past weekend. It turns out our old friend Justin Sun, remember that pin from earlier, was determined to increase his stake in Trump's other crypto project, World Liberty Financial, by buying the rest of the available World Liberty Financial tokens. But I'm tired, boss. You're going to have to read up on that one on your own. All right. Insane. Apparently, 60% of it goes directly into Trump's pocket on World Liberty Financial. Well, okay. Students for Trump. I mean, this just keeps going and going and going. All right. Final thoughts, because I'm exhausted. I'm tired too. There are serious finance people with very fancy degrees who think the Trump token scam is good for the economy and society. What do I mean? These same serious finance people with very fancy degrees now run the government of the United States of America. Specifically, they've been placed in charge of the financial markets. Despicable humans like Preston Byrne, crypto lawyer extraordinaire, think there's a lot of upside to their billing hours to meme coins and are rejoicing about the incredible amount of the federal judiciary's time they'll get to waste litigating this bullshit. Good luck, America. Again, great piece. Now, I also brought a whole article about...
My body weary.
I also brought a whole article about the crypto ball. That one took a long time, so I'm gonna just say go read this because there's so much to what went down at the crypto ball, and we covered a lot about what happened with the Trump coin at the crypto ball. But the lights went out. That's Natalie Brunell. By the way, last week I made a mistake. I meant to say Natalie Williams contributed to the channel, not Natalie Brunell, because that's Natalie Brunell who made fun of and imitated the tax the rich with a dress that said fix the money. Just garbage. This is actually a really good article. Michael Saylor and these
America great again.
Cringy Bitcoin douchebags with their $100 billion. Yeah, literally, there's the dress. You helped inspire my dress. I hope we can talk about it soon. So you can get in on that grift because you haven't grifted enough on enough grift so far, AOC. All right. So get to that. Check that out. We do not accept Bitcoin. We do not accept crypto. I don't want crypto. Fuck your crypto. I love, I love you if you want crypto, but we're not interested. I know that it's a scam. But these people gave us an actual cash to one of those places, Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, or INNnewsletter.com by subscribing on a monthly or annual basis. Man, meme coins suck. But they are able to, people like, look, if you bought Dogecoin when it was worth nothing and now it's worth 20 or 30 cents, you're a millionaire, a multi-millionaire off of dumb shit. And a ton of these people,
if you sell it at the right time.
And usually
it's straight up gambling.
And usually only the people on the inside sell it at the right time.
Correct.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, it's so messed up. Who am I, people? Harps, what up, bro? Good to see you. Harps hangs out. He's the host of what's the show that was on earlier? He was on the New Prisoners. I was watching it earlier. God, he'll put it in the chat and I'll put it up there when he tells me. I'm blanking. 2 weeks to fatten the curve. That's right. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Safe and effective. It's all very, very safe and effective. So, Rokfin rug pull
Once
scam.
you have their money, you never give it back.
Very Ferengi. We have been dealing with very Ferengi type of people, from the Rokfin people to the Trump meme coin.
Acquisition is great as eternal.
So, okay, so here's the final piece to this puzzle that I wanted to put out, and this was put out on Thursday by the SEC themselves. Remember how Michel said that we now have the crypto scammers running the SEC and in the government? They basically said, you're on your own when it comes to meme coins. As part of an effort to provide a greater clarity on the application of the federal securities laws to crypto assets, the Division of Corporation Finance is providing its views on meme coins. A meme coin is a type of crypto asset inspired by internet memes, characters, current events, or trends for which the promoter seeks to attract an enthusiastic online community to purchase the meme coin and engage in its trading. Although individual meme coins may have unique features, meme coins typically share certain characteristics. Meme coins typically are purchased for entertainment, social interaction, and cultural purposes, and their value is driven primarily by market demand and speculation. In this regard, meme coins are akin to collectibles, meaning baseball cards or Pokemons or Beanie Babies. Meme coins also
those are probably much more consistently lucrative.
Meme coins also typically have limited or no use or functionality. I'm going to read that again because that seems vaguely important. Meme coins also typically have limited or no use or functionality.
It don't make no motherfucking sense.
Given the speculative nature of meme coins, they tend to experience significant market price volatility. That's an understatement. And are often accompanied by statements regarding their risks and lack of utility other than for entertainment or other non-functional purposes, depending on who you ask. It is the division's view that the transactions in these types of meme coins described in this statement do not involve the offer and sale of securities under the federal securities laws. As such, persons who
that's pretty much telling you you're on your fucking own.
Well,
as such, what that sounds like.
Persons who participate in the offer and sale of meme coins do not need to register their transactions with the Commission under the Securities Act of 1933 or fall within one of the Securities Act's exemptions from registration. Accordingly, neither meme coin purchasers nor holders are protected by the federal securities laws. They just basically made Ray a meme coin. Section 2A1 of the Securities Act and Section 3A10 of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 defines the term of security by providing a list of various financial instruments, including stock, note, and bond. A meme coin does not constitute any of the common financial instruments specifically enumerated in the definition of security because, among other things, it doesn't generate a yield or convey rights to future income, profits, or assets of a business. It also didn't exist when those laws were written, but that's neither here nor there. In other words, a meme coin itself is not itself a security. The aforementioned statutory sections that provide that investment contracts are securities. Given that a meme coin is not itself a security, we conduct our analysis of whether a meme coin may be offered and sold as part of an investment contract under the investment contract test set forth in SEC versus W.J. Howey. The Howey test analyzes whether certain arrangements or instruments are investment contracts based on their economic realities, meaning they go up and down. Very jargony, long statement. All right. Notwithstanding the foregoing, this statement does not extend the offer and sale of meme coins that are inconsistent with the description set forth above, or products that are labeled meme coins in an effort to evade the application of the federal securities laws by disguising a product that otherwise would constitute a security. It's not. As noted above, the division will evaluate the economic realities of that particular transaction if it's deemed somewhere that something actually acts like a stock that has value, that's generating some kind of return for a shareholder. Further, although the offer and sale of meme coins may not be subject to the federal securities laws, fraudulent conduct related to the offer and sale of meme coins may be subject to the enforcement action or prosecution by other federal or state agencies under other federal and state laws. You got to find another loophole. But the SEC doesn't want anything to do with meme coins. Fuck you. You're out. I'm out. Meme coins, you're on your own.
I don't even know if that's... Yeah, it just sounds like we're not going to help you.
Yes.
If that's, So,
not only are we not going to help you, but you have zero legal recourse when it comes to these instruments if you get scammed or screwed out of your money, which you likely inevitably will because they have no inherent value. And we know this. And you know this, man. All right.
Yep.
I gotta move on because we got a lot more to talk about here. Another Indie Media Award honoree, Andy Worthington, is one of the co-founders of Close Guantánamo, which is a website dedicated to doing just that, closing the U.S. military base at Guantánamo Bay. Andy wrote an article about what's going on right now at Gitmo, and I wanted to cover it because I didn't really hear very many people talking about the fact that he's basically reopened Gitmo, turned it into a prison for immigrants or for migrants that were coming here, especially Venezuelan migrants, very strangely enough, for no reason, holding them without charge, for indefinite periods of time. Very messed up. So Andy, again, award-winning journalist, Trump's cruel, grubby, and lawless Guantánamo fantasy, and wanted to bring this one because I didn't see enough people bringing it, and that was this week. Over the last 3 weeks, the latest consequences of the United States' decades-long obsession with using its naval base in Guantánamo Bay, Cuba, as its preferred location for violating international law has been all too apparent as Donald Trump has chosen to use it as the focal point of his war on migrants. Little history. Bill Clinton was the first president to use Guantánamo for the lawless imprisonment and dehumanization of various groups of unpeople when he established a migrant operations center there in the 1990s, holding Haitians and Cubans intercepted at sea to prevent them from landing on U.S. soil and claiming asylum. At its height, this operation involved the detention of tens of thousands of migrants, but for the last 30 years until Trump's return, it had only ever held a few dozen people at most at any given time. Meanwhile, the next group of unpeople to be held at Guantánamo Bay, beginning with President George W. Bush and continuing throughout the presidencies of Barack Obama, Trump in his first term, and Joe Biden, were the enemy combatants, quote unquote, of the war on terror, right?
War on terror.
Terror. I know you've got that.
Terror. Yeah.
Spectacularly dehumanized Muslim men and boys, largely rounded up indiscriminately and imprisoned without any fundamental rights whatsoever as human beings. Extraordinary rendition.
Terrorism. Terror. Terrorist. Terror organization. Terrorist attacks. Terrorism. Terrorist network. Terrorist attacks. Terrorist group. Terrorists. Terror. Terrorists. Instruments of terror. A terror network. Terror cells.
Instruments of terror is another word for a glockenspiel, but that's just me.
Or a cuckoo clock, depending on who you are. That thing is torturous, man. 2 o'clock in the morning.
And glockenspiels are worse, dude. With the little fucking hard mallets, especially.
Right.
Fuck you. Yeah, it's the worst.
Of the 779 prisoners held by the U.S. military at Guantánamo over the last 23 years, just 15 remain, although all of them are, to varying degrees, still caught in a rights-shredding regime of such fundamental lawlessness that just 2 years ago, a UN special rapporteur described how the conditions at the prison amount to ongoing, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, which in certain cases may also meet...
We never would have done that.
It may also meet the legal threshold for torture. It almost likely does. A cynical exercise...
the United States government. We don't do that sort of thing.
Right. A cynical exercise in dehumanizing 13.3 million people, the estimated number of undocumented migrants in the U.S. Trump's war on migrants was launched on his first day in office via an avalanche of executive orders and pompous and hysterical proclamations in which he sought to suggest that the U.S. was engaged in a quote-unquote war against a quote-unquote invasion of criminal aliens on its southern border. None of that's true. And that the country itself was overrun with undocumented migrants who, quote, present significant threats to national security and public safety, committing vile and heinous acts against innocent Americans, unquote. On January 29th, Trump suddenly brought Guantánamo back into the picture, announcing that he had ordered the Secretary of Defense, drunky Pete Hegseth, and the Secretary of Homeland Security to expand the existing Migrant Operations Center at Guantánamo to hold up to 30,000, quote, potentially high-priority criminal aliens unlawfully present in the U.S. The worst of the worst. The week after, the first flights of migrants arrived from Texas. They were all Venezuelans, the latest unpeople to be given the offshore lawless treatment, and they were all dutifully described by government spokespeople as the worst of the worst, deliberately echoing the language used when alleged Al-Qaeda terrorists first arrived at the notorious War on Terror prison in January 2002. Even though, as with the War on Terror, the stories that emerged of these men when they were identified via photos released by the DHS or through investigations by actual journalists reveal that none of them seem to be the worst of the worst at all. Because the worst of the worst, it's coming from inside the house, everyone. Instead of being the evil gang members the administration sought to portray them as, they had no criminal record whatsoever, and the criminal activities of the rest consisted of little more than having tried to get into the U.S. in search of work in a quote-unquote hostile environment, determined to criminalize them for seeking a better life. Reinforcing the inventive analogies between that war on terror and the war on migrants, Trump then unexpectedly decided to hold the majority of these men not in the Migrant Operations Center, but in Camp 6, one of the cell blocks of the War on Terror prison, which since 2006 has been used for the general population of Guantánamo, low-level detainees held without charge or trial. To be able to move migrants into Camp 6, Trump was able to take advantage of the fact that before he left office, President Biden, through a number of long overdue releases, reduced its population from 16 low-value detainees to just 3. All held for over 2 decades, by the way, without charge or trial. Thanks, habeas corpus. Thanks, Obama. And all still, not Obama, I mean, again, 2 decades without trial. All still held despite having long been approved for release. These men were obligingly shunted into a neighboring facility, Camp 5, where the other 12 men are held, all high-value detainees, as if there are any high-value detainees at this point, and including the men charged but still not tried in connection with the 9/11 attacks. This involved overriding protocols in place since the high-value detainees first arrived at Gitmo from CIA black site torture prisons in September 2006, which were designed to prevent them, for national security reasons, from ever having any association whatsoever with the prison's general population. Womp womp. Even more significantly, moving migrants into the War on Terror prison was blatantly illegal because the law establishing the U.S. government's right to hold prisoners there, or the AUMF that was passed a week after the 9/11 attacks, only justifies the military imprisonment of foreigners at Gitmo who are regarded as having some involvement with Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces connected to 9/11, or other international acts of terrorism. So every Venezuelan migrant is connected to an act of international terrorism? That's basically what they're saying without saying, because they have to be. But the law doesn't really mean anything to Trump. As it says, the law apparently means nothing to him or the inadequates that he's put in charge of the DOD and the DHS. Hence the escalating number of flights that, as of last Thursday, had delivered 178 Venezuelan migrants to Guantánamo, 127 held in Camp 6, and just 51 in the Migrant Operations Center. All right. Facing mounting criticism, not least via a lawsuit submitted by rights groups including the ACLU and the Center for Constitutional Rights, who sought access to the migrants and pointed out that because they were detained on U.S. mainland, they had a constitutional right to legal representation. Trump seemed to accept defeat, putting all but one of these men on a flight back to Venezuela via Honduras and sending the other men back to detention on the U.S. mainland. 2 days later, however, another flight arrived from Texas, containing another 17 men who, again, have been imprisoned in Camp 6 on the basis that, as a Trump administration official told the New York Times, quote unquote, they were in the category of high threat illegal aliens. The Times later reported that the 17 men, aged 23 to 62, were 7 men from Honduras, 4 from Colombia, 3 from El Salvador, 2 from Guatemala, and 1 from Ecuador. So there weren't even anybody from Venezuela, according to a document seen by Carol Rosenberg. So how long this dark farce will play out is still unknown. Yesterday, 5 Democratic senators sent a letter to Trump complaining about his illegal and unjustified transfers of non-citizens from the U.S. to the detention center at the naval station Gitmo Bay, which they called unprecedented, unlawful, and harmful to American national security, values, and interests. The senators, who are all corporate douchebags, Dick Durbin, Alex Padilla, Patty Murray, Peter Welch, and Chris Murphy from Connecticut, also sought explanations about Trump's claimed legal authority for his transfers of migrants to Gitmo and the source of funding for the operations, and requested a reply by March 10th. Will Trump even deign to reply? No one knows. Go ahead.
I wonder if Marco Rubio will take up his old job at the facility again now that this is happening. You know? You
mean Riverboat Ron DeSantis?
That would be correct.
You said
Ron
Marco.
DeSanctimonious.
You said Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Rubio
that's what I meant.
Rubio wasn't in the military. He meant DeSantis. Will Trump, again, we don't even know if Trump's going to reply. He and his administration appear to be uniquely contemptuous of any kind of oversight whatsoever, specifically because those driving the government's policies, including Trump himself and his Project 2025 backers, seem to believe that there should be no constraints whatsoever on the president's executive power. For the sake of the Constitution and
sanctimonious.
That guy, and the centrality of separation of powers, which prevents executive overreach, it's hoped that at least some Republicans in Congress, as well as the judiciary, will recognize that anything that looks like a policy in which Congress is either sidelined or ignored completely, and or which shows contempt for existing laws, is very probably part of a deliberate attempt to further Trump's Project 2025 agenda, and will respond appropriately in defense of the Constitution. I think still a lot of that Project 2025 is just Heritage Foundation wish list stuff. It's not necessarily a specific and deliberate plan. Okay. But what Andy Fick closes out with and says that the current Guantanamo project in which hapless migrants dressed up as the worst of the worst are imprisoned in a cell block used for 18 years to hold the last victims of that particularly malignant smear is just a clear case in point. Close Guantánamo. Info at closeguantanamo.org. Follow at Andy Worthington on Twitter. I also, if you go to indiemediaawards.substack.com, there is a page dedicated to Andy with his links where you can find him and follow him on social. Very few others are talking about Guantanamo Bay, and because of that, we are definitely demonetized, deboosted in the algorithm, and in Rokfin's case, soon to be deplatformed, likely. So support us there where you can. Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal.
Asking for your financial support.
We have to get some new people because I don't want to hear that asshole's voice ever again. All right, and certainly not asking anyone for money because I still want my
keep doing it.
I want my $27 back.
Keep doing it.
Fuck
just
that.
to upset you.
Cash App, $Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. Sign up at INN Newsletter.
Break here.
No, sign up at INNnewsletter.com, but don't pay any money over there because Substack doesn't deserve the money. They've been really douchey and throwing all their efforts into corporate media hacks like Jim Acosta and Jennifer Rubin. And I saw Joyanne Reed, by the way, this week.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
Yep. She's there too now. It's just a matter of time before we get Rachel over there too. Right? So, Anna, either they put me in a special house as an experiment of an all-freshman girls' home to cover up for the anarchic group who used to live there. Nice. Very nice.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I want my 500 back original DNC cunts. Yep. Anna was talking about a sweatshirt that she had made for Bernie at one point, and we're just all so embarrassed about having ever supported that clown. Right? Cynics saying that they're giving cynics a bad name. Very funny. I always see Hog's Breath when I see Exit. Very funny. Pete Hog's Breath. Very clever.
Hog's Breath and Rat Fuck. Sure, we'll take it.
Hemp Car, good to see you. I stayed home and went to the local college. No loans. By the way, Hemp Car is one of those fam that I thankfully found, reconnected with on Facebook. He was watching us exclusively on Rokfin. It's like, you guys disappeared. I don't know what happened. Then I explained what happened, and he's like, oh, shit, well, I'll come over on Rumble. But again, don't Rumble Rant, because Rumble Rant, they take 50%, and then we have to pay PayPal. If you're going to subscribe at Rumble, do it with a monthly subscription there. The channel subscriptions, they claim to pay us 100%, and then we got to pay PayPal a little rip. But, okay.
Thing sucks.
Yeah. I mean, just getting paid out, and it's such a hassle that the people watching don't really know anything about having to deal what we have to deal with that. And once they find out, they feel bad, and they'll alter, hopefully, how they support their content creators so that it puts the most money in their pocket.
People's brains would explode if they realized like everything you got to pay for, all the software you got to do, all the monthly subscriptions you have to have just to use the software, all the it's just to get it out to the places where people can see it,
Shout out and love to our brother Oz. Okay.
Correct. What up, Oz?
Stay away from my chickens, Oz.
Stay away from my chickens, Oz. And definitely eggs too. Yeah. Stay away from my eggs. All right.
You notice how chicken prices haven't gone up the way egg prices have gone up.
So now we know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Right. So
yeah,
I want to get to our another story here, and this all kind of dovetails into each other. U.S. House adopts a budget plan to spearhead the social counter-revolution. This was written by Patrick Martin from World Socialist website, a trot. So this is coming from the trots, but they call out the fascism for what it is here. And what they're doing is they're looking at this new proposed House budget. Now, this is not necessarily what's going to finalize pass, but it tells you what the intent and what the goal of the Republican Party is. And if they had their druthers to pass it right now, what would they do? But they can't, and they're going to have to go through some type of reconciliation process. But it's very important to understand that the U.S. House of Representatives on Tuesday night took the first step in the Trump administration's plans for devastating cuts in social spending, particularly on health care, adopting an initial budget plan by a 217 to 215 vote. The measure begins the so-called reconciliation process, in which Congress passes a single annual budget and tax bill that cannot be filibustered in the Senate. With only a 3-vote majority in the House and a 6-vote majority, or 3-senator majority in the Senate, reconciliation is the preferred mechanism for the Trump White House to enact its core program unilaterally without negotiating with Democrats. Because it can be passed by the majority of Republicans in both houses, Democrats are effectively sitting on the sidelines. They can't filibuster this. The final bill is expected to incorporate far more than just budgetary items, providing a vehicle for major changes in policies ranging from immigration to the environment. The House bill did not include such provisions, which will be worked out in future talks with Senate Republicans and the White House. But the budgetary provisions alone demonstrate the colossal social counterrevolution that the second Trump administration is seeking to carry out. These are alarming terms because they should be. The bill provides the initial framework for the House committees that will actually draft the provisions of the reconciliation legislation. That's a lot of boring language. This includes increased spending of up to $300 billion for the military and immigration and border enforcement, and up to $2 trillion in spending cuts for all other government functions, primarily healthcare, education, food stamps, transportation, and the environment. The legislation would provide up to $4.5 trillion in tax cuts over 10 years, a figure already rejected by some Senate Republicans because it falls short of the full 10-year cost of extending the tax cuts for the wealthy that was enacted in 2017 during Trump's first term. That was $2.5 trillion then of tax cuts. Many of these tax cuts expire this year, and both corporations and billionaires are clamoring for their bonanza to be made permanent. Most of it were made permanent for everybody except for the bottom 10%. The House bill is a further demonstration of the utter indifference to legal and constitutional constraints on the part of the Trump White House and the Republican Party as a whole. A reconciliation bill is required to be deficit neutral. They don't care. The requirement is met by assuming that extension of the tax cuts, combined with the scrapping of business regulations, will unleash massive economic growth that'll raise tax revenues by $2.6 trillion. And when that fails to materialize, the resulting deficit blowout will prompt demands for even more cuts in social spending. Well, we're still underwater. We can't spend more money than we don't have. Amid nonstop lying by Trump and his aides, who claim that there will be no benefit cuts in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, the House bill instructs the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which oversees Medicaid, Medicare, and other health programs, to cut at least $880 billion in spending over a 10-year period. So tell me how that's not cuts to those. An analysis of the underlying budget figures by the New York Times, who I don't believe, but okay, pointed out that all government programs under the jurisdiction of this entire committee, beyond Medicaid and Medicare, only accounts for $200 billion combined. They're being tasked with cutting $880 billion over 10 years. That's $88 billion a year. So everything except for Medicare and Medicaid is $200. This means that the vast bulk of cuts must come out of healthcare programs, large of which, guess what? In terms of people served, is Medicaid, which provides healthcare coverage to the poorest sections of the working class, as well as disability payments and nursing home care for millions of elderly people. All told, the joint state and federal program provides benefits for 72 million people, Americans, more than 20% of the U.S. population. 1 in 5 Americans is on Medicaid. Not Medicare,
Correct.
Medicaid. Among the measures being considered to implement the cuts are imposing work requirements, allowing more frequently eligibility checks on beneficiaries, likely to disqualify millions of eligible recipients because they fail to meet paperwork requirements, and capping the federal contribution to the program while leaving the actual benefit cuts to be made by the states, which administer the joint program. They're going to let states do the cutting because they lost the money from the federal and they need to cut somewhere else to make up for that, or they've got to cut that program. And here's the big rub. The single biggest cut would involve effectively rescinding a major portion of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, by cutting off the subsidies to the 41 states that have expanded Medicaid coverage to 20 million Americans with incomes slightly above the poverty line. Go ahead. You got your finger on the button. I don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
No Obama. Thank you. These states, now I heard it, would either have to eliminate the Medicaid expansion, cutting off health insurance, or make offsetting cuts in other state programs, such as public education. How about that? Times estimated that this would save the federal government as much as $560 billion. So you add that $88
Meanwhile, what
billion,
they don't tell you,
go ahead,
is that they plan on making, using AI as part of the Department of Education and whatnot. So that's going to go well.
Right? Another major social regression would be carried out by the White House Agriculture Committee, which has jurisdiction over the food stamp program. This committee is instructed to cut $230 billion over the next 10 years, and there's little likelihood that this will come out of support payments for giant agribusiness interests. House Republican leaders issued a statement celebrating their action as delivering on the president's full agenda, America first, not just parts of it. After which, Trump held his first full cabinet meeting Wednesday at the White House. And then we know that Trump gave the spotlight to billionaire douchebag Elmo Muskrat, whom he has designated as his chief budget cutter. All right. He asked the assembled cabinet members to give their assessment of Musk's efforts, and they responded with predictable ovation, just an ass-kissing session all around. Trump gave his backing to Musk's provocative email messages to the entire federal workforce, demanding that every worker provide a 5-point summary of their job accomplishments from last week or be fired. It's very much in line, Glenn Ross. It's, first prize is a Cadillac, second prize is a set of steak knives, third prize is you're fired.
Get the fuck out.
1 million workers, or nearly half the workforce, have not responded.
They're redoing that, I hear.
Yeah, they are. It's on Broadway. Starring Bill Burr as one of the characters, too. I may try to get over there.
Billy Burr.
1 million workers, or nearly half the federal workforce, have not responded to Musk's messages, and Trump said that all of them should be considered at risk. They're going to fire 1 million people. Also on Wednesday, Trump issued an executive order requiring every federal agency and department to develop plans for mass layoffs, called RIFs, by March 13th. This would extend the jobs bloodbath beyond the probationary and temporary employees who've already been laid off en masse, and include more senior workers who have civil service protection and supposedly can't be fired arbitrarily. Trump mentioned the order at the cabinet meeting, praising Lee Zeldin, head of the EPA, for preparing plans to eliminate 65% of the EPA's workforce. Of course, not his job, but the rest of the workforce. The March 13th deadline is significant because on March 14th, the current continuing resolution, which authorizes spending by federal agencies, is set to expire. So if we don't get another CR, guess what we get? A government shutdown. The CR was adopted in December.
And they'll blame it on the Dems.
Yep.
Somehow.
Even though the Democrats can't vote here.
Right.
The CR was adopted in December. after Congress failed to pass a budget for the current fiscal year, which began October 1st, 2024. Unless a budget is adopted or a new CR is passed, a partial shutdown of the federal government would begin March 14th. This could well be the occasion for the layoff of hundreds of thousands of workers, not just as a temporary measure, as during previous shutdowns, but permanently. Even these workers, ultimately called back to their jobs, would likely lose pay for the period of the furlough, meaning countless evictions, foreclosures, and other hardships. They may not be able to come take that job again when it's reopened. In the face of these impending calamities, the Democratic Party and the trade unions that supposedly represent these workers are engaged in nothing more than impotent hand-wringing. House Democrats leader Hakeem Jeffries, while acknowledging that the budget bill would mean the largest Medicaid cut in American history, proposed for precisely no action to stop it. His position remains, as long as it has been since Trump took office with his tiny majorities in the House and Senate, what leverage do we have? God forbid he went and tried to make a deal with a Republican to flip sides. It goes without saying that when the positions are reversed, Republican minorities have engaged in full-scale war against Democratic administrations and blocked their proposed actions. But that only demonstrates the difference between the two parties of corporate America, one pretending to defend working people and the other brazenly doing the bidding of the super rich. In this case, with the richest man in the world, quote unquote, wielding the chainsaw, except that his name's not Rothschild, so not really.
And the chainsaw has no chain, therefore it does nothing.
Very, very apropos because of what happened in Argentina with Milei.
Right.
The struggle against Trump's massive social cuts, as his attacks on immigrant workers and democratic rights, and his full program of dictatorship and war, will only come from the working class, which must establish its political independence from the Democratic Party and its subservient trade union vassals, and come forward in an open social and political struggle against the Trump administration. And they suggest the Socialist Equality Party, which they are part of and founded, by the way, the SEP. The only problem with the Trots is that they're COVIDians, but they totally want to revamp the healthcare system, and they truly believe in healthcare for all, preventative healthcare, and the like, although they do believe in vaccines, which I'm not crazy about, but they also don't believe in capitalist big pharma. So I am kind of more leaning towards that, although that's government run pharmaceutical companies, which I don't know how crazy I am about that either. But it's interesting. It's worth thinking about or talking about. I like these guys sometimes, and on matters of calling out fascism for fascism, because everybody to their right is a fascist. They're good at that, as well as occasionally on press freedom. I like what they have to say, and I like to use them, especially in calling out union leadership and Democrats. They're outstanding at doing that. Now, because we use World Socialist website and Democrats basically run the YouTube platform and Republicans run the Rumble platform, we don't get very much over at either platform, but you can help us out by contributing over at Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, or even at Substack, although try to do it one of the first three. Cash App if you have $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network. Now, I called an audible because that was the end of the stories that I had, and then I saw a story today that I had to at least mention very quickly, and we'll go through this. I guess this will be the beginning of we'll go through headlines, but this one has a paragraph and something that's super important that I want to get to. This is a story that came out today from ProPublica, which is a nonprofit outlet that relies a lot on government funding. I'm worried that Trump's going to pull their funding after seeing this. All right. But the conflict of this Department of Government Efficiency agency, it's funded and acts like a federal agency, but the problem is that the White House has shielded them from rules that govern such agencies, which makes it something that has never existed in this country, which is a federal agency that is not subject to transparency, accountability, or anything other than the personal wills and wishes of the president or anyone who's affiliated with it. No oversight, nothing. Okay. Specifically, all right, that he's called DOGE maximally transparent. Trump said that over 100 people work there, but his administration has refused to make information about their spending and operations public. In an effort to gain a clearer understanding of its inner workings, they've gathered the names and backgrounds of the people employed there, identifying some 46 people, including 12 new names that they added to the list today. Like literally, okay, so this was February 20th that they nailed this down. This is about a week ago, 10 days ago. Trump and Musk have defended DOGE as a tool for trimming the fat from what they see as a bloated bureaucracy. We still, by the way, have no list of exactly what the cuts are that they're planning on. They've just been outing what the spending is on their political enemies and cutting those departments, but not really exactly how much that's going to save over time or what the long-term effects are. The effects of those cuts have proved crippling, bringing a halt to programs that provided essential services to vulnerable populations across the country and the world. And they're crying about USAID because USAID didn't just do domestic and international spying operations. They actually did help poor people in poor countries. The top Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee, Representative Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut, told ProPublica she didn't believe DOGE had the legal authority for the actions it's taken. She called it a made-up federal department that's wasting taxpayer dollars. And this is how. Most of DOGE's money has come in the form of payments from other federal agencies made possible by a nearly century-old law called the Economy Act. To steer those funds to the new department, the Trump administration has treated DOGE as if it were a federal agency. And by dispatching members of its staff to other agencies and having those staffers issue edicts about policy and personnel, DOGE has also behaved as an agency-level authority, right? But the use of the Economy Act would seem to subject DOGE to the same open records laws that cover most federal agencies, such as the EPA or the State Department. However, DOGE has refused to respond to the FOIA requests, saying it operates with executive privilege. Musk also flip-flopped about whether DOGE staff members were paid. Initially, he said they weren't, but earlier that week, he said some of them were. Who they were and how much is still to be determined. The conflicting stances put the Trump administration in a bind, legal experts say, because if DOGE is a federal agency, it can't shield its records from the public. If it's not an agency, then tens of millions of dollars in funding weren't illegally allocated and need to be returned, some contend, which we know they're not going to do. The administration can't have it both ways. A federal judge presiding over one of the many DOGE-related lawsuits also recently grilled the admin's lawyers about its conflicting stances. All right? We're not an agency where we don't want to be an agency, but we are an agency this one instance where we want to be. That's literally what the district judge characterized the government's position as. Ridiculous.
Okay.
All right? All these people are spread across agencies. One of the names newly added to the tracker, Catherine Armstrong Loving, is the sibling of crypto executive Brian Armstrong. That name came up earlier, who runs the industry leader Coinbase. Coinbase,
of course he does.
Coinbase donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund, and Armstrong met with Trump to discuss appointments to administration posts, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, what happened this week was that a lawsuit that was looking into, that a federal investigation looking into Coinbase mysteriously got dropped by the Justice Department. Go figure. All right. Go check out the rest of this article at ProPublica. Next.
Yeah.
Our friend the Dissident has been on fire. If you're not subscribed to the 307.substack.com, go subscribe. So he put out one last night or the other day, how Israel manipulates people through atrocity propaganda. And this lays out in the scope of the return of the Bibas family, to Israel, and that's a whole fuck Israel story I don't even want to get into. The way that they propagandized this entire story. They propagandized a story about a family that it turns out the IDF killed in a bombing, but they positioned it as that Hamas returned them mutilated and it's terrible. All right. And they've been using this atrocity propaganda and then later admit, maybe that's true, but don't worry about that now. But by the time anybody hears that, it's the big story's already over, and most people have already, again, a lie can make its way around the world 10 times before the truth has the time to put its socks on. All right.
Yep.
So read this from The Dissident. He also just put out another article today. He's been, again, cranking. And all of his articles, by the way, I try to include in INN newsletter on the daily or weekly basis. Another scathing article you need to read about what the Zionists are trying to do to anti-Zionist writers, journalists, and personalities is what Zay Squirrel published this week. They don't really write very much to their Substack, but there is a South African, how a slave boy of Peter Thiel's own slave boy, Mike Solana, was hired to fabricate deranged screeds smearing the squirrel, embodying the principle that every Zionist accusation is a confession, and lays out all of the receipts and evidence therefore, forthwith. All right. That Ashley Rinsberg, who is this South African, claims that the squirrel was running some massive Hamas propaganda network on Reddit, even though they don't even have a Reddit account. This is entirely fabricated. It's a lie. He knows it's a lie, and instead of admitting that he lied, he just decided to now double down. And yet another unhinged screed he wrote, this time focused entirely on the squirrel. He claims he has receipts, even though his own receipts expose his own lie. But he hopes that if he can conjure up enough deranged propaganda smears surrounding it, he can deflect attention from the fact that he brazenly and shamelessly lied about the squirrel and others being part of some Reddit Hamas propaganda network. Long story. Get into that one. All right. And speaking of the squirrel, this is another incredible thread about Peter Thiel. All right. Fanatical Zionist neocon billionaire tech Peter Thiel, who created J.D. Vance's entire career and whose CIA-founded company Palantir is a core part of Israel's machinery of genocide in Gaza, is, of course, also closely connected to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile sex trafficking ring. And this is, again, a long thread that you should definitely look into. All right. Also happened this week, the funeral of Lebanese martyred leader Nasrallah, where allegedly 1 million people attended that funeral. Professor David Miller, British professor, we've covered a couple of his articles, one about the Zionim this summer, tweeted out, said, a bit of news from me on how the Zionists bounced the counterterrorism command into detaining me at Heathrow Airport. At 11:30 or at 9:32 on the evening of Monday, the 24th of January, I stepped off a plane from Istanbul to Heathrow and into the terminal building. In front of me were a wide circle of people, evidently waiting for someone, perhaps for a number of passengers. I knew right away one of them was me. One of the SO-15, formerly Special Branch, plainclothes officers of the Counterterrorism Command, for it was them, asked for my passport and whether I had started my journey in Istanbul. Of course, I knew that they knew this wasn't the case. In any case, I had done nothing wrong in, as I said to them, visiting Beirut to cover the funeral of Saeed Hassan Nasrallah. This was my first taste of Schedule 7. They started to explain what Schedule 7 was, and I said, yes, I know about it. From being stopped before? No, because I'm a researcher who studies terrorism legislation. And then on the moving walkway, I realized that the circle of people had only been waiting for me. I looked around and counted out loud. I know I'm a big lad. As I said, I'm over 6 feet. But you really need 8 officers to detain me? More details here and more coming. So read that press release from David Miller. by all means. Again, this is further fascism, further authoritarianism cracking down on anybody who is speaking out against Israel's war crimes and the U.S. and British support of those war crimes, which then further implicates the U.S. and British government in war crimes. I wanted to follow up also to the story that we covered last week about Yves Engler, because the last we spoke, he was still rotting in a Canadian jail last Sunday. And they lost his paperwork on Monday for most of the day, but we got a tweet from him. We got a tweet from him on the 27th, right, in the morning. And what he said was, "Thank you to the thousands who supported me. After spending 5 days imprisoned for tweeting about a Zionist being fascist, I was released without restriction on my ability to discuss the charges brought against me for criticizing Israel. It's a small win for free expression and Palestine campaigning. In court on Monday, the judge effectively forced the Crown to drop its bid to block me from mentioning arch anti-Palestinian Dahlia Kurtz. The Crown wanted to restrict my ability to mention the name of the Jewish supremacist who instigated a police complaint against me. The outpouring of support has been heartwarming and helpful. On Thursday morning, 30 joined an emergency rally to accompany me to the police station where I was detained. A similar number showed up at court on Friday, and on Monday morning, I was told 100 rallied at the court. 30 were still there when I was released after 7 p.m. Protesters' presence in the court Monday morning is probably what prompted the judge to demand the jail send me immediately to court. Apparently, there was a mix-up on the date for my bail hearing. What a mix-up. Those who came out ensured the judge considered the free speech Palestine issue seriously. A slew of guards commented on the number of supporters inside the court and who later waited outside for my release. As a result, they treated me more respectfully because they knew that eyes were on them. In response to their initial call, over 4,000 emailed a Montreal police inspector calling for them to drop the charges against author Yves Engler. Subsequently, more than 6,000 emailed the Montreal police chief and mayor requesting my release from jail and the withdrawal of all the charges against me. U.S. folk music singer and friend of the show, David Rovix, wrote this song, "What's Going On Here, Montreal," about my imprisonment and Kurtz's violent anti-Palestinian views. Rock legend Roger Waters also produced a short social media clip calling for my release and criticizing Kurtz, which was viewed by hundreds of thousands. PEN Canada and PEN America posted messages to Twitter about the case. On Tuesday, the Canadian branch of a lobby group for persecuted or imprisoned writers wrote a letter to the Montreal's mayor and police chief expressing concern regarding my arrest. Prominent international journalists Glenn Greenwald, Ali Abunimah, Aaron Mate, Caitlin Johnstone, and others, not so prominent like us, posted or wrote about the case. Senator Yuen Pao Wu posted multiple times expressing concern about the charges. Hundreds have donated that sent messages of support. We won the first round in this battle to suppress the speech on Palestine, to write about the person who brought the charges against him. Amazing that we had to fight that battle. It's also scandalous that the police responded to my writing about the case by claiming I was harassing them. And really what was happening was that they were claiming he was harassing them by sicking his audience on them and telling his audience what happened, and their, action afterwards that then emailed and flooded the servers of the police chief and the investigator. The Crown should immediately drop all charges against me, apologize and compensate me for my imprisonment. Of course, I'm not holding my breath for the system to do the right thing. But a little bit of good news that he's not rotting in a Canadian jail anymore. And he was out there this week chasing after and following Canadian politicians to ask them about their positions on Palestine. Very outspoken and not being deterred. Shout out to Eve Engler. Glad he's out. So finally, Erin Brockovich, we haven't checked in on her in a while, another Indie Media Award honoree. She wrote something terrible that you all need to see. A cocktail of chemicals remains in our drinking water, and a lot having to do with PFAS. And we talked about them making a law to outlaw PFAS in drinking water. Well, not so fast. Despite mounting scientific evidence and public concern about U.S. drinking water quality, federal action remains sluggish at best. Last year, the EPA introduced the first drinking water standards in more than 20 years, right, for 6 PFAS. A new update on EWG's, the Environmental Working Group tap water database, shows millions of Americans are drinking water tainted with heavy harmful chemicals, heavy metals, and radioactive substances. Many of these contaminants are at levels far above what scientists consider safe and effective. All right. So again, I will drop this link in the description afterwards. Again, another somewhat long and frightening article, but we need to be aware and be informed and drink purified water. Zero water, by the way, highly recommend. Finally, our friend Shanda did a great show last night with Oz, Beauty and the Boomer. She'll be live tomorrow, Trailer Park Pundit, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And she needs our help fighting against small cell lung cancer. She's fought quite a bit of it back, but we're still not there yet. And anything you can do to help in the GoFundMe, greatly appreciated. And that will be in the description afterwards as well. Finally, the one thing that I ask you to check out is my conversation with Gen X Girl 1994. That you can find at innnewsletter.com. We also live streamed it twice yesterday to our YouTube channels, looped in the morning twice, and then later on in the evening just once. So go check that out. We talked about Zionists of America, which is an organization, Beitar US, which is now deemed a terrorist organization in America, and how it's linked to Mayor Eric Adams, and how the lobby influence organization works in the United States. All right. I know that was long. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with me on that. I had a ton to cover. Apologize. We're still going to do boats. So Reef, I'm guessing, is going to drop the link to boats. We're going to be on the Ocho exclusively tonight. We're not going to be streaming to the INN main channels at all for boats, mostly because we're worried that if copyright stuff happens, that we don't want to get that channel hit or hurt. So go check us out over on the Ocho. We'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. I just need to take a little bit of a break, get a drink and a bong hit, and we'll be back in a few. But thank you, everyone, really, for sitting through this tonight. I know there was a lot to cover and a lot of technical stuff and a lot of crypto stuff. It's blockchain. It's cryptocurrency. And yeah, support independent media because we need it more than ever. And I love you all, and we'll see you soon for boats.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
No! We just fucking lost the stream.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry.
My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say?
You can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen? To 50,000 died, and now we know our mission. We form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen.
What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party,